Um, we are back now. Colleagues will join us. It's fine. You know, you saw me accessing my facilitation manual because I have this facilitation manual that Prof and I use a lot when we facilitate diversity management and inclusion workshop.
Yeah.
And I was looking for the diversity wheel. You know the diversity wheel?
Yes.
The various dimensions, and I was trying to locate some things in the various layers of the wheel to locate the Abdul's input. But then I realized that no, but I think Abdul is coming from philosophy, but there's something that we are communicating across each other on. But I wanted to know, is it either or is it both end? You know, and I'm glad that, but it was very healthy because this was a really joke in my mind. I was waiting for Abdul to come back to give him compliment that, my mind has never been so joked around the issue of diversity. I thought maybe there's something I'm missing about diversity. Maybe I've been doing something wrong. But I think at the end we actually clarified it, and I think he agrees as well.
Yeah, I understood him because he was saying, and maybe the theme was, where do you drive it from? You can't drive it from management.
I think the challenge lies exactly there in the formulation of the theme.
Yes.
Because managing diversity versus leading diversity channeled us to think of comparative analysis of some sort.
Yeah.
And actually, I positioning also that the starting point is that the two are actually two sides of the same coin.
They are two sides of the same coin. I always say when you are at that level where you are the custodian of strategy, you wear both hats. You wear both the leadership hat and the management hat. And it's about knowing which hat you're wearing at what point through the process of creating the result that you want. And yet what I think he is saying, and he will confirm, is that it's almost like the sponsorship. Where does it sit? Because if it's in management, it's not going to thrive. If it's about enforcing and ticking the boxes, it won't work. If it is about, and to, as Ms. point about how they use diversity as a strategy for the business to succeed, it's driven from a leadership position, and then the management becomes what you do to make sure that you realize the result.
Actually, from a coaching point of view, I had to go into a serious analysis and interpretation. What actually this previous segment with Abdul has taught me is that you must never ever take communication lightly. Because what we really had as an issue there was misunderstanding of each other in terms of what Abdul was saying and what we are expecting. And it's purely, as you say, is the formulation of the topic. Say it again for the benefit of Esme, what the topic perhaps should have been.
I think, where do you drive it from? Do you drive it from management or from leadership?
Yes.
In terms of you drive it from leadership.
Yes.
Drive it from leadership. And
you lead exactly.
That's where Abdul came in. He was trying, I think he went around the road and this corner, and but I think his main driving point was the anchor must come from leadership.
Yes.
Because at the moment we anchor in management.
Yes, we anchor it in. We anchor it in the numbers, and that is why it brings the resistance.
You have marked so many scripts of students. I think also there is something here that has to do with the structure of your presentation, because I think it took too long putting together a context.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, I was saying, they will say, which means that, I can't wait to get to the point that you are going to address. Now, as I was waiting, I didn't know at what point you was going to address my expectations. And I think, am I right? Maybe Maybe a little feedback for him. We'll ask him to watch this segment later, because the feedback for him is to say that perhaps you needed to give a structure to your presentation, because so that we know when you are addressing a few theories and context, so that we are not rushing you, because then he said wait until the end because I'm coming there.
Yeah.
And then we'll be anxious sitting on our tender.
Just a little input. Oh,
sorry.
Yes, Prof.
I was saying a little input from my side is that when I said tools, I was trying to say, give us something to hold on to. What is this vehicle you are putting us in? Before you even drive us to some destination, but what is the vehicle? That's why I was saying conceptual framework, tools. And because without that, I think we ended up, moving this way and that. But
and I think this was diversity in action, guys.
Absolutely.
Our preferences against Abdul's thought process and the challenge, because for me, when I talk about the visible diversity and the diversity, when you use the tree that below the line, what are the different things? So because Abdul didn't speak and think the way we would have done it, I found myself, I challenged myself to listen and follow his thought process. And that is why I heard him, even though it wasn't the way I would have said it. And just this conversation is the best example of diversity and inclusion. Perfect example of diversity and inclusion.
You're on mute. Huh? Sam.
Sam, you're on mute. We're not hearing the juiciness there.
Okay, so sorry, Abdul. I say that they need to update you, because we say how wonderful this past segment of yours has actually demonstrated diversity in a thought process. Because I haven't said to Prof, you have marked many scripts. I think if Abdul has given us a structure of his entire presentation, so that we know where he is, because we kept on saying, when are you getting to the point? And then you say, hold on, I'm coming there. Now I realize that actually you were first sharing with us the context or the philosophy. And then you were going to come to a point where we are going to talk about this. And then we are also saying that we also didn't realize that we're communicating across each other. There's also diversity there. I mean, I said, one of the key clues of effectiveness in managing and leading diversity is communication must be very spot on, but also the diversity of the people can actually make you communicate across. I even thought I'm sitting in a lecture of a most complex academic.
You know what? I just have to say, Abdul, at some point I thought, whoa, I think intellectually I am so down there. Oh, but it was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome.
I went into so many philosophies that I'm trying to grasp and master in terms of relating, because from a coaching, Queen and Esme will tell you that we are very critical of ourselves because we are very influential when we are in relationship with clients. I was saying, and I started to remember all those models that, caution me not to. I was saying, hold horses, Sam, don't throw Abdul out of balance by giving him some body language that communicates to him that I'm not really hearing what you are saying. So I went to my manual and looked for my diversity wheel and then tried to locate it. What part of a diversity wheel is
So, Sam, I want to say to you, everything that what happened during Abdul's session talks to what I spoke about, the willingness to receive everything, listening. So when you were in your head about where is he, when Abu Sisi, when you were looking for tools, you were in your head, and listening wants you to be there fully. Want you to be there fully. And when you are in your head trying to create what you think he must say, when he must say it, how he must say it, you don't hear him because you're busy. You are so that's exactly what was going on.
Are you saying that we were thrown into a zone of discomfort?
Yeah. Because he was saying what the things that you didn't expect, not the way you'd expect them to. So instead of being glued to what he's saying, you started looking for what he should be saying, and then you lost him forever. Then there was
I was actually imagining a boardroom even called Abdul to come and enlighten them on how to drive diversity. I said, for how long will Abdul be on that chair before they start saying, you know what, your time is
I also had a battle of how do I stay authentically here without being tempted to move.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I was also, in the process of not driving him and giving him space. When I talked of tools, I was trying to say, help me understand you. The thing you were saying, help me get onto your page.
And then I think
saying, hey, I'm leaving your page.
Absolutely, Prof. Abdullah's challenge us. This was a really typical example because this is what happened in real life in organizations.
Yeah.
When you don't understand somebody, rather than being tolerant and give them space, let them finish, you interject.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that was the principle of LEKGOTLA of allowing people to finish. That was what was holding us.
But my other challenge was also not specifically thinking of what I expect him to say. I don't have that thinking because I'm a coach. I don't engage with clients and I want you to say certain things to me. My challenge was connections. I learn with connections. If stuff are all over the place, I can't make a mental picture. So I was even getting close to the computer, how desperate I became to find connection. So I hear empowerment and I hear that, but I'm trying to make a mental picture. Okay, maybe it's gonna go there. Then I took some notes and I tried to connect the framing, common purpose, illusion of power, leading. I just I was just trying to make connections of a mental picture for understanding for myself, so I see where you're coming from. So I wasn't expecting you to say something I want to hear, because then it's not learning. I wanted to get what you are saying because I was very excited about your topic about leading and managing. I was like, whoa, there's some juice coming.
Colleagues, we've normally we go through traditional educational processes, and that's where the challenge is. The challenge it's about you take what is given to you by the professor, whatever. But when you go into action learning, because I'm looking at this platform, it's an action learning platform. Action learning says use programmed knowledge, then action and everything. But what I may ask you to look at, go and look at critical action learning, how it differs from action learning. Critical action learning is about leadership. Action learning is more, again, it's action learning, but it's more, again, action learning is about management. But when you go into critical action learning, it drives you into leadership. And the difficulty which you get is that even currently in the country, there are two institutions which are dealing with critical action learning. University Stellenbosch has action learning in some of the programs, and Gibbs has action learning. But you will not get a single university which is geared towards critical action learning. It reminds me, in 2002, I was at Professor, the Vice Chancellor of UNISA then, Pichana. We are seated at his house, and I'm saying to him, why don't you introduce action learning at UNISA? He just told me one thing, Abdul, we don't have capacity to introduce action learning. And for me, when I'm looking at this platform, which is basically action learning, which can take you into critical action learning, it's the best you can ever have. Because it's not outside there. Institutions are grappling, people feed from the professors. To think outside the box is not there. Yeah.
Wow. Powerful.
We will certainly go and look at it, Abdul, and engage you further, because it is really, yeah, you have jogged my mind, you know. Yeah, I thank you.
But you threw me in the deep end also. You threw me in the deep end in this way. You remember, it is about expectation. It's not us here discussing as colleagues here.
Yes.
It's outside there. It's for public consumption.
Absolutely.
How do you manage that? But I'm happy. If you are happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, no. I mean, you have given us a practical case of what can go wrong when diversity is broader than just these obvious things. At some stage, I was asking myself, I wonder if Abdul, at some stage in his professional career, he ever engaged with the subject diversity management per se. So I was starting to become very much functional in the thinking and technical to say, has he engaged with the topic first, or he just tackled it from his philosophy of leadership? But then I realized that yeah, you brought quite a number of things, you know, into it, and I realized that it's not necessarily that you don't understand the topic.
Yes.
You were very intentional about it. But now we concluded at the end, I'm glad we were aligned in saying that actually you are, and Quinn even said that maybe the formulation of the topic was wrong. It should have been, where do you put the emphasis? Where is the focus as a leader? And I think we're agreeing on that. But also I said that when I said that maybe you should have shared with your structure of your presentation, because it looks like we were in a hurry while you were still painting the philosophies and context and challenging their mindsets before you would address our desire to see the difference between management and leadership of diversity.
Yes, that's what happened when we were trying to interject or not to understand what is it that he was trying to say. It was more somebody interject and he goes back to try to explain.
Yes.
And we get lost in the whole conversation, you know.
But we also switched off because it was becoming too much, because it wasn't addressing what we expected. And if you and again, maybe that's not action learning, maybe that's the class learning, because now I'm expecting you to give me the structure.
I just want to say something on what Mike just said, but also sometimes interjection is very useful and helpful, because you need to make sure your audience are understanding. You can't talk for 1 hour and nobody got what you were saying. It doesn't make sense. You know,
Yes, but Abdul did ask us, are we still together?
Yes, he did ask us at some particular point, but I think we all were still trying to understand. So we said no, continue, because we need more to actually be able to.
You know, I said, I know in LEKGOTLA, we always say that silence is powerful. It is also a communication. But this silence I'm speaking here, this is a silence of some question mark. It is nothing to do with the LEKGOTLA principle here. This one is a silence of wanting for some help, man. Prof.
But you know what it does, what I've come out of it is that, you know, I have to also think through how I put my thoughts together.
Absolutely.
That's critical. So it cannot be that it cannot be that 5 people have got a problem. Remember, communication is about saying, from the onset, people should understand what you're up to. But it didn't come through from the onset. If I brought it at the end, for me, that's a learning curve. Yes, I facilitate processes, but
I'm very glad, Abdul. I'm glad that is you are saying it. I wasn't gonna say it because I thought it was not in my space to say it. To say perhaps it is now has. I can feel that you've got so much in you, but the way you were presenting it, and I was even saying that, you know, maybe a bit of re-looking at how you are presenting, so that you don't lose the energy and the attention of the people. Because I could see Esme looking closer, and I said, she started struggling the same way. We could tell that there is a loaded, important message, but the communication is an issue here. We even said that we also communicated across, and I think that is, you're right, that is a feedback, but it's got nothing to do with your competence. It has to do with how you package it for other people to also be at the same level with you.
So Sam, what I also thought was, because we were really looking forward to your sessions, Abdul. I mean, all of us, we knew that we were going to deliver and then wait for your session, because that the way you shared it in the was so exciting. I was like, why is he reading? Because that day, everything that he said was
that was also my question, to say, hey man, but Abdul didn't have to prepare. Now it's like you are reading a script, and it's like, did he go and talk to somebody who changed the plan?
Anyway, I prepared for one reason, because sometimes people end up saying, but give us what you prepared, and you don't have. It creates a bad picture.
I understand.
Talking off the cuff is okay, but yes, and again, let me be frank with you.
Understand, Abdul. It's also understand, Abdul. It's also seeing that I've studied these different. Some personality types, they can't go without preparation, especially a type 5 or type 1 personality. You can never put them in a room without preparation. They have to prepare.
But now you know, Abdul, that the LEKGOTLA model is everything goes, because we will pick it up when you like the way S made it. I would rather that you engage me, guys, and then we just comply. Queen presented her themes, and then we engage afterwards. Prof also, so anything goes. But anyway, we are now in the last segment, which is the reflection. The pity we lost Wusi, so I'm sure he's busy with other things. I didn't see him leaving the message. Did he talk to you, Mike?
Yes, he gave me the message.
Oh, he's committed.
Yes, he's committed, yes.
All right, great. But anyway, this session is now reflect on the whole LEKGOTLA from the morning to where we are now. And Sure, it's like we are packaging now. We are packaging.
Can I come in a bit? You know, some and Prof may testify. Okay, currently I'm having a doctoral student whom I'm supervising. I'm supervising somebody at the University of Liverpool. But when you don't prepare, for example, the proposal, you will spend 5-6 years before you qualify. The tendency is to run into something, and you believe you are going to do it as you go along, which is a problem. If you say you are going to flow as things come, without knowing the start and the end game from the onset, you won't have an end game as you want it in time. You may, I've seen students, I say to students that you can note, I don't know why doctoral students can't write a doctoral thesis in 18 months or even a year. Because the problem is the conceptualization. Even here, I think you've taken me back to think, hey, did I prepare properly? I think I took people on a wild goose chase, which was not supposed to be. If I had brought my thoughts together, summarized, but again, because remember, I had never been in the session, I didn't know how much was required to be dished out. That was one situation. But for me, I have learned a lot. I've been, as I said, I've been in action learning sessions, and in action learning sessions, you are basically stripped naked, and you strip naked. Somebody talks, there is no, you remove your biases. You have to be willing to learn from the next person. If you don't have that perspective, you'll never learn. For me, I'm very grateful.
If I may say something, that critical action learning is a methodology or an epistemological paradigm. And I think diversity is saying to us here that we have other paradigms. And when you come with this paradigm, the one thing I often say to my students, when you cannot tell it to your granny or to your grandchild, now that I'm the other side, think about it. Whatever it is you want to communicate, if my granddaughter cannot understand it, and when I was young, I would say, when your grandmother cannot understand it, work on it. And that is perhaps one of the ways to move from that.
I've learned how to
put yourself in their shoes and see how it flows. Just a little thing.
No, thanks, Prof.
Yeah, so this is the most important part of the LEKGOTLA. So let me just take you back to this session at the face-to-face LEKGOTLA, which we used to have here in Kempton Park in Pomona. It's the most loved session because what will have happened in a face-to-face LEKGOTLA? These presentations will have happened in the morning, one after another. And then we will have an in-depth circle in the main hall. And then we will have then divided the hall into what we call mini LEKGOTLA. Mini LEKGOTLAs, which in terms of, you can equate them to a World Cafe methodology where people sit in tables and they move from one table to another. The difference with our methodology is that you don't have people staying in the room and then others coming and others going. So because in the World Cafe methodology, you have one person stay in a table, get joined by many other people, and when they finish, they leave and another person stay, others join them, and they continue talking. Every table has a different topic. In our case, we have one topic, which is in this case, diversity management. And then what we do, we get a subject matter experts like yourself, you present the matter. And then after that, as you are presenting their degree notes, and then we then split them into mini lekgotla. And when they get into the mini lekgotlas, they are challenged with the concept of putting together a mini lekgotla the same way we put a main lekgotla, where they create identity of themselves because they are no longer in a bigger group, where they even give themselves a name, and we challenge them on how did they come with this name. And some will tell that we look among ourselves, we are women and men equally. We say men and women, we said men, woman, team. And then we say that, do you think that is the team that's the name that will describe you? And then we said, was there consensus or there was one dominant character that say, no, we are going to call ourselves this. So because we want to make sure that they take the methodology of lekgotla of engaging, conversing, and coming to a solution. We'll then also make them choose what we call the induna for that lekgotla, or the king of that lekgotla, or the chairman, who then controls the induku. And then they will also normally choose somebody. And by the way, they have to come and explain why was Queen appointed as a scribe, not the chair. And then they'll say, our Queen volunteered, or we talked and we realized that she seemed to be more listening, therefore she will not miss our point. And then they will then choose somebody who's a rapporteur, who could also be the same person who's taking notes. And then now, all of a sudden, while they are sitting in the main lekgotla, now there's a competition, because if you choose wrong people, when we go back to the main lekgotla, we expect you to rally behind that person and agree that this is what you agreed that he or she was going to feed back in the main lekgotla. And what is fascinating is that they all feedback on the same topic and same input from the subject matter experts. Now, if they missed something in their deliberations, we are not worried, because the other group might have picked it up, and in many cases that is the case. And then we then have a discipline of not saying no, like we say it in my language, Prof, where people will say, when people are lazy to talk, they say, no, that is the what they've said is what we have said. No, we said, no, they must have said what you have, they might have said what you have said, but you might have formulated in a better way than them. So you will find that if there were 20 people and we had 4 mini lekgotla, so you're going to hear 4 different feedbacks on the same input and same topic. And what is so beautiful is that when then you are together in the main lekgotla, although you form another circle, but you identify with your mini lekgotla. And that we say, how does it feel to belong to the team that seemed to have provided most powerful feedback? And then after that, we consolidate. And then after we have done that, and then if we are many, we can get somebody to check out on your behalf. If we are not many, we all check out with those 5 points I've given, because that is like, we want to know if every one of us has led. Now, those 5 points of checking out is they comply with what academics call reflective practice or reflective activity, where you think back what you have heard, you have learned, you have observed, you have seen, and then you say, what has that taught you, and what are you going to do as a result of that reflection, and what shift has it happened in you that makes you a different person afterwards. And I can tell you, those who attended lekgotla in 2017, 12 lekgotlas non-stop, it's like a 360-degree turn in terms of what they came with not having, and what even people who were scared that we pushed to talk, now in the next lekgotla, they say, I'm the one who's going to report back. You'll find people fighting back, fighting over things that they used to be scared to, because one of the powerful things about lekgotla is that we affirm you even if you are not at your best. And that feedback, that affirmation, you see people actually saying, you know what, I never thought that I could stand in front of people and talk. More so talking on behalf of other people who I thought are more knowledgeable than I was. And so, no, it was not about your knowledge, it's about you now being a representative of your team. They've given you all the wisdom and they help you package it. And now you're just delivering twice, because what we encourage them to do in the main LEKGOTLA is to do a dry run before they come back and present to the main LEKGOTLA. And if we push it out, we ask the team and say, but why is your guys not delivering what you expect them to deliver? What went wrong? And then sometimes we say, no, this guy, we said we must help him. He said, no, he will put nose together, we can go and have coffee. And now we are surprised that he's not delivering the product. I said, you see what can happen if you don't close, you don't go full cycle. You can actually have a good product poorly delivered. Yeah. And that is why I'm saying this is really the best. It's a pity we are not in a face-to-face LEKGOTLA, but you can get the idea, you know. And then on top of that, we didn't only learn the LEKGOTLA methodology, we have also learned what diversity is. Yeah. And then you go home knowing, I have to do something about this. And that is the action learning that Abdul is talking about. And that is LEKGOTLA for you, you know. Yeah, great. So that's what we are going to be doing. Prof, you attended our full LEKGOTLA before, or you left before we did the roundup? Ne?
Yeah, I left, but I stayed for quite. I left late in the afternoon.
How did you experience it then, or how did you feel the atmosphere?
No, it was great atmosphere, and I think the value for me is, you know, deepening the listening of participants, you know, where it becomes an effort to go and pick up, you know, that stick, and you are mindful that you don't pick it up more frequently than others. You know, there are little dynamics.
Yeah.
If you are observant, it helps you, you know, and checks people out. So it's a wonderful methodology.
Beautiful. We are proud of the fact that it's an African traditional way of holding meetings under the tree at the King's Crown. And when you look at how close it is to World Cafe methodology, Nancy Klein's time to think, big group, big bank systems, it is all within us. And yeah, great. So that is it. So yeah, let's enjoy the last part, and this I've shared with you what we expect you to do. When you are ready, you can just reflect using those guidelines. And also, please don't forget to tell the people how they get a hold of you, maybe your Facebook page, your LinkedIn, or your website address, because what we want is that people out there, whoever they might be able to continue engaging with you, because this video and audios they have a long shelf life, and you don't know who might need your help, and we would like people to really continue in these conversations. And Prof, also how people will get your books. It will be very helpful, especially those who are doing some work on diversity. They may. I've read your book, and by the way, I've written the foreword in Prof's book on salt and pepper. So when you get that book, the foreword is from me. Thank you for that privilege, Prof. Yeah.
So, Sam, can I go first, even though I'm not sure whether I'm going to do it right?
Yeah.
I want to start first by just sharing. When we got to Prof's the end of Prof's presentation, I had a double whammy awareness, and it's the question that Prof asked you as me about what do you think? I don't know whether it's Prof or Sam, about what is going on the cruise ships now around diversity, you know, and COVID. At that point, the light bulb moment came up for me, because then what I realized, and I think this is the biggest takeaway for me from this session. I realized that we're talking about culture. Diversity, whichever way you look at it, you're looking at how culture is evolving and the challenges that come with culture evolving, whether it is sexism, whether it's sexual orientation, whether it is, now being able to have a courageous conversation with a senior person, because our cultures don't have all these things that we are talking about. And with the event of culture evolving, we find ourselves needing to talk about this. With the event of people moving around, we are metropolitan. Our culture is diluted. Like Esme, when you share about what happens on the ship, that culture is a diluted, it's a metropolitan culture, where it started off with me and my culture, you and your culture, you and your culture. When we get on the ship, we become a community that then assumes a culture. So the customers were experiencing a culture from a metropolitan a group of people. So the one thing that I got from this whole conversation today, one is that diversity and inclusion becomes necessary as a result of culture evolving. Two, I also recognize that COVID was another catalyst for change and evolution, because it challenged how things are done in the workplace. It's challenged relationships. It's challenged what you mean by welfare and well-being. So I realized those two things. One, that is, diversity and inclusion is a conversation when culture evolves, and that COVID has necessitated an additional layer of diversity and inclusion. Now we are not only talking sexism, we're also talking different, my home and your home, and which one, how do we create an environment where we can still co-create despite our different home environments. As a result,
your home has become an extension of the office.
Yes, and that extension of the office has brought in a different dimension, because now office means I don't have a desk, you have a desk. I have children running around and making noise that I need to shut up. Your kids are locked up in their bedrooms. I don't have airtime, or I don't have Wi-Fi, so I'm having my sessions in the car. So it gave us a powerfully new dimension of diversity, and the conversations are not conversations that we thought we would have, and that we now don't have a choice but to have, if we are going to be aligned to the values, as me, because those values are conscious commitments that organizations make to the employees. And it's easy for employees to come back and say, you're out of integrity, because you said that your value proposition is that my well-being is important, and I'm looking at you setting up appointments up to 8 o'clock at night because I'm working from home. So that's what I'm getting out, and what I'm going to stop doing, continue doing, all lumped up in one. I am actually just going to go back and beef up my diversity and inclusion presentation and my conscious conversations, because I've seen more dynamics and scenarios that I can bring into my conversations with my clients. Thank you so much.
So now the LEKGOTLA Way, just run through those 5 points. What was confirmed for you? At what point did you have an aha moment? What are the new insights, take home? And then, of course, you did say what you are going to do differently.
So what was confirmed for me is, and I actually wrote it down, the only certain thing is uncertainty and change. So that is what was confirmed for me. What I saw, what I now know is what triggers the need, what triggers the dimensions to change, what what creates diversity is evolution and change. It's evolution and change. Now I know that. Sam, I don't know what the other
moment. At what point did you have a light bulb moment? Or it could be many times, but choose one particular one.
That particular one moment is the question when Esme answered the question around the culture and that the cruise ships were evacuated. Because then I immediately imagined that when the people go back, I imagine that the cruise ship would then need to relook their culture, because it's also going to be the health and hygiene culture, the languaging around it, how people are going to manage it in a way that leaves people with the same experience, and additional to addressing the concern around hygiene, because the people are getting to on the ships now already also have an anxiety around, will they take care of, will I not get COVID on the ship? So that the value is going to have to be, we need to talk about this. How are we going to create an environment where people get the experience that they buy, and we adding the layer of hygiene and physical well-being to the indicators that make this experience a good experience or a not good experience. So that was my aha moment when that question landed on the cruise ship. I saw the evolution of change and the need to relook the values and how we communicate it and how we enable the cruise team to get to commitment so that the customers are going to experience it.
And what topic bag are you taking to quench what hunger or thirst out there?
I'm taking the challenge that was highlighted in Abdul's session, because it was preempted by, I don't know whether it's Esme's presentation, where we talk about compassion, the willingness to hear the other person. I got that, and that was into Abdul's session, and that's what enabled me to look for the meaning and find it and be on the same page with him, even though it was not that easy. It's the compassion that as a coach, I cannot move from knowing, even though I'm the facilitator of the conversation, and like Sam says, we see ourselves as experts, subject experts. I still need the humility that allows me to still receive what else is available for the benefit of my clients.
Wow, powerful.
Awesome.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I'm excited.
Beautiful.
This was diversity 101 for me.
101, yes. Thank you so much.
I think Queenie took my whole check. Queenie took my whole check out.
Okay.
Are you saying Kilakaleo?
She took most of my nuggets. It's just the alignment in the connection, the alignment in values. But I'll go next.
Yeah.
What was confirmed for me in today's session, I echo completely where Queenie's heart is at, is there is no time to play games. Diversity is a must. It's an importance. And any company who is not going to lead and make this an importance, whether in business, whether in the community, whether in our schools, whether in our homes, we are a nation that is going to go to extinction. It's very important for the next generation. What are we getting? Queenie talked about that in the beginnings. What are we What inheritance are we giving over? We can't be playing games anymore. For me, that was a big confirmation. There's no more talking around. It's about doing. We don't have to be perfect. We can be agile. We change as we go along, but we need to start getting into action. Very importantly, that was confirmed for me. What was also confirmed for me really was connecting with Abdul in terms of leading the anchoring of diversity coming from leadership. We can't expect managers, midline managers on the floor to be running diversity, sitting with conflict management cases amongst employees when the lead from the top is not led an implementive strategy for the implementation of those on the floor to be running it. So I am really wanting to speak to leaders out there who's in position of power. I'm kindly asking from the bottom of my heart that you start really taking diversity serious as an asset and start to lead by diversity, because your bottom line, your policies, everything will be affected and cannot be sustainable, because people are your asset. Invest in them, help them to get along, because the innovation that you are missing from people not getting along is huge. It's huge. Unnecessary conflicts, and it's huge. We are missing creative, innovative ideas by struggling with Mickey Mouse issues on the floor. No, so that was very confirmed for me. And as coaches, I take it upon my stride to filtering this into leadership conversations and really be direct and be challenging. What are you doing about diversity in your business? I'm taking it on. I'm taking it on because this session today has confirmed this for me. It's very serious. Yeah. Sorry, I'm starting to speak like a politician here. At which point did I have an aha moment? My aha moment was, you know what? My aha moment was some nuggets that came from Cecil. And to be quite honest, I cannot say anything. I was taken aback because I was challenged with my beliefs. I was challenged with my values. I was challenged with the box and the frame that I'm currently in. And he gave me a lot to think about. Actually, he gave me a lot not to sleep about, if I must say so. No, not in a negative way, until I am, it was a heavy landing. Those topics, being so courageous to bring those topics forward, of which people are afraid to talk about, sexism and homophobia, and and how we evolved as a culture, and how a lot of research still needs to be done, and all of those concepts. I was quiet though when you talk, because I was like, my seat was like shivering. So for me, that was a really aha moment. It shifted me out of my own thinking and values that I think I got so confirmed. It just broadened my perspective. And it's something that I need to go and reflect and look further deeper within myself. New insights, lessons that I've learned. I've learned a lot of lessons from each and every one. I've learned lessons. I learned lessons a lot from Queen. I like Queen. Queen is fantastic. Queen is awesome. And courageous conversations and all of that. Lessons for me that and new insights I take away also from Cecil. Those insights about as culture evolved, and speaking in the context of diversity, it is something that is evolving. COVID, like Queenie has said, has specifically now placed a very high, has raised the bars on diversity being taken seriously, very highly, as raising the bars on that. For me was a new insight, that COVID did raise the bars on diversity, that organizations or communities are now really having to take serious in having processes implemented within their structures that provide employee wellness, that provide coaching interventions, that provide not just the physical safety, the mask and the washing, but also psychological and emotional safety has become a big, huge need. So that is one of the new insights came for me, that psychological, emotional safety became, especially now after COVID, a big issue. And companies has to invest money in the space if they want retention, if they want innovation, if they want productivity, if they want engagement, and if they want results. Because people are also working from home, that psychological and emotional strain on the family and everything. And so that for me is a big a new insight, that it's really money a company cannot even try and negotiate themselves out of investing into their people. That was a new insights and lessons from today. Also, one of my insights and lesson that I got out of today was no, I think that's that. What am I taking home? What I'm taking home to share with family and friends, I'm taking home to share with them. There's something beautiful I wanted to read here. What I'm taking home to share with them is like, it is my hope that we all get to come together at a very authentic way, where we seek each other's differences, that we find joy in learning in those differences. And when you think about diversity and inclusion, you think of we think about goals and numbers and processes, compliance, audits, and human, but we leave the human being out. So that's what I'm taking home to share. Do not leave the human being out. The human being is a very important person. It's not just about the goals and the numbers. So that's what.
I see
Sorry?
your body. I see your body language. You know, that authenticity that is coming out. That joy, and that energy that comes out of your. It's beautiful. I really love that. You know. By the way, the what are you going to do differently or change? That is a commitment. That is a commitment into the future. It forces you to think of an action. And thank God we are recording this. Every now and then we'll remind each other and want to hear from you the new experience as a result of the new ways that you have committed to.
Committed to yes, to be quite honest, Sam, after I've traveled for so many years the world, and I'm very grateful for that experience. It helped me to not just be in my narrow South African minded view, but to explore different cultures. Has helped me a lot with diversity and getting on with any kind of people. That was weird. But one thing that challenged me personally is I'm very open minded, can deal with any kind of people, I have a very non judgmental approach to life. But I get triggered when someone stereotype me. That's my trigger, because I don't do it. But when it comes to me, I can't withhold the anger and the frustration, because why are you thinking like that? Like, I mean, really, why can't you just see a human life in front of you? Because you're limiting yourself right now and you're limiting me. So we both are in a box. So there's not going to be any expansion from here. So I get triggered immensely, because it's not something I do. So what new behaviors am I going to do to help me with this is I'm going to self-talk myself and say, They don't know what you know. And that's gonna should bring peace. They don't know what you know. If they would have known what you know, they wouldn't have done or said what they did.
Wow. Thank you so much, Esme.
Yeah, I think somehow naturally we are choosing the sequence we had, so perhaps I must come in. The sequence we had since this morning. Yeah, the light bulb moment for me came in the courageous conversations that I've lived with my wife now for 43 years, and when she mentioned elephants, I don't know, because my totem is Dugo. My totem is Crow. So the metaphor of elephants related to me. But more than that, I started realizing that, the many courageous conversations that you live, sometimes you rear the elephants, and now it's too late. Some of them, I just need to keep shifting from one room to the other. But it was a life bulb moment, in this sense that I'm seeing most of us who have been in their relationships now for the longest of times, sometimes struggle when we must be together, retirement, no longer traveling so much, COVID also keeping you home. That, the methodology of courageous conversations becomes key. And that is for me the light bulb moment. I can be very authentic because I accept my vulnerabilities, and I think you guys have given me space to be vulnerable and to say, look, we are human, we learn all the time. But that really was a light bulb moment of really highlighting that we human, and some of these frailties are real. They are just human frailties that need managing. Esme, the way the sheep embedded values was such an exciting, insight, because sometimes after facilitating a diversity, inclusion, and belonging workshop, people say, "What must we do?" I say, "No, on June 16 Heritage, visit, Vilagazi Street." But I think it's more than visiting Vilagazi Street. There are concrete things that you can do, celebrating the different significant holidays in the various cultures. But I think at the heart of it is also making people feel they matter. They are important. And I think in the methodology of embedding values and also rewarding those who live the values, that's a new insight, and that's a methodology one would want to look at closely. When people say, give us something to hold on to, give us something to go and apply. Celebrations, but of birthdays. One of the things we do with Sam is asking people their African names. What does the name mean? Who gave it to you? What was the historical context? So that celebration of the essence of people, I think, was I got a new perspective to it. There's been confirmation for lifelong learning. I was a student, listening to all of you, learning perspectives and learning some of the things, and really appreciating that, until the end of time, one will always remain a perpetual student, engaging, learning, relearning, unlearning as well. And I think the spin that we put onto COVID, people sort of adapted, especially those with a bit of resources to be able to get Wi-Fi, etc., etc. But I saw some students at one university who did not have, you know, the Wi-Fi connection, nor the resources, you know, to purchase data. And I think, you know, some universities had a thought about speaking to your MTNs, you know, to provide free data to help the students. So the diversity in terms of resources, especially financial, I think has been laid bare. It's the fault lines of our society have really been shown so glaringly by COVID-19. Because whilst, you know, you can do things home, other people are not able to, not because they do not want to, but because of the constraints. And it took me back. I survived COVID, but my brother was not lucky. He succumbed to it. And you know, when we had to deal with his funeral, and there are only, you know, 40, 50 people there, it was quite traumatic. I think I'm still carrying that trauma in many ways, you know, looking at the contribution that he made in society. So I'm taking away from our conversation a real look at how you know, COVID has done so many things that, you know, we should not be glib about how we look at it, and those things that are still in us and are still hurting because of it, you know, just draw the courage to confront them and realize that it was a different time, a different era, a COVID time. So to let go in that respect. So there's been also a shifting around how one really looks at the COVID experience, and to look closely at the lessons learned. I don't think we have learned everything from what has stemmed out of the COVID experience. I think when we think carefully, there's still so much. Abdul, and this is my last point. You challenged me to rethink, you know, the usual paradigms that we have about knowledge acquisition, and challenged me to refrain from, you know, what somebody called epistemological arrogance. You know, there's no one way of knowing. Epistemology is around knowledge. So there are different ways of knowing. And I think one sometimes must just be open to different ways of learning. And in that way, you know, learning can take place and one can grow. I think that in a nutshell is, you know, the takeaway from today.
Thank you, Prof. I have worked with you so many times, and every time I have a session with you, there is always something new to learn, and I'm really privileged, and I always wish people out there can engage with you, because I don't know how many companies, how many workshops on diversity you have facilitated since you became a consultant after leaving the academic space, and then the wisdom that is in those books that you now put together. I think you still have a lot. You still have a lot to offer. I'm saying it openly here, that people read those books and they really engage you, because indeed you do use yourself as an example a number of times, and that helps a lot, and people can relate to the things you have been through in your life. And another thing is that the adaptability to the young generation amazes me in you. You know, there's a lot of people who will battle to spend a lot of time with young people discussing issues of this so intense. And for you, it's like once a teacher, always a teacher. And it doesn't matter how old your students are. you engage with them on the topic. That is what I actually always feel whenever I'm engaging with you. You might not realize it, but you are playing a mentorship role to many of us without us calling it exactly that. Because most of us grew up with elders around us, and we take it for granted that the elders will always be there for you. But in these spaces of the modern management and leadership, there are very few elders who make themselves available. And that's why sometimes we fumble. Thank you for that, and I really honor you for that. And also a big thank you to your family for allowing you to continue doing this, because if other families will be saying, no, stay home, be with let your little one jump on you, but they are so generous with you. I know even the role you play in the church and many other things. I think that's what sustains you, Prof. You mustn't stop it. Thank you. Great. Abdul?
Yeah, I think
let's see, check out
everything, but I think I have to summarize mine into pardon? I'm saying I would like to summarize mine in only one question. Maybe the one thing which I've not had. If we have facilitated or implemented diversity management in an institution, what should be the measure of performance? For me, that's the critical question. Maybe we can discuss it. How should successful diversity management, leading diversity process manifest? And for me, that has not come through. We have discussed it all, and it's the take home. It's the wow moment if we get it right here, and that's what I'm looking for. Maybe we can discuss it if possible.
Sorry, Prof, are you asking a question?
Am I gone?
Yeah, I hear you saying. I hear you saying.
If we are successful in diversity management, how should it manifest as a performance measure?
How will we know if we have been successful, right?
But I'm asking a question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to clarify.
I'm trying to clarify, Prof. I can maybe how would we measure its performance? The performance would be measured, right? How would we measure its performance?
I'm asking if we are. Yes, if we have.
I think Abdul is not hearing us very well. His network is cutting.
Yeah.
But I think what he's saying is, how will we know if we have successfully managed and led diversity? And he says that didn't come out. So I think it's a very relevant question. What is the scorecard? How do we know if we are successful?
But Sam, I would come in there to be able to know if we are successful in implementing diversity. We would start off with vision. And we're going to measure it against those outcomes. We need to have outcomes first. We haven't established outcomes, so we can't say this is what success of diversity would look like. Because success for diversity. Oh, yes, Abdul. Abdul, what I'm saying is a very relevant question, very good. And that's any question any company would ask if they're going to implement the diversity strategy. We got to first know what are the outcomes before we can actually say, yes, here are the measurements of our results. We had achieved it. But we can't have that picture now unless we have the outcomes, because for different organizations, that outcomes is going to look differently. And they will have a different strategy. No size shoe fits all. So we first
and I think it will be both quantitative and qualitative.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when the outcomes are clear, a strategy gets put in place, measurement of milestones of by when and how, by whom gets put in place, and then we have a marker. This is the outcome of what it needs to look like in 1 year, in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years. When we have that, we know we have been successful, but we can't give you that picture unless we have outcomes.
Can I also suggest a few examples that I have spoken to my organizations about when I do this type of work? Is the obvious place to look, even before we align it to strategy, is looking at the types of grievances that are placed to HR, the cases. So like when you look at the grievances and the performance management issues, and you start seeing the nature move away from relationships, the nature moves away from misunderstandings, then you realize that people are starting to find themselves, that the grievances will be on other things other than relationships. So for me, that is the one area, and I always encourage my clients to track. And like Esme, you are saying, it's not an instant thing. It's something that you measure over time. You know, when you look at your, like I had one client where they were at CCMA with so many cases every day. And I said to them, are you categorizing the issues? Which issues are purely from a diversity and inclusion nature because of misunderstanding? That one is racist, that one is this, that one is that. Because if they can categorize them, aligned to their vision and their set, measurements, like you are saying, Esme, then there's a chance for them to start seeing which of the grievances and performance issues are related to relationships and which are related to other things. And that's the one obvious place where people can start seeing whether those are going down, which might be an indication that people are able to have those conversations and resolve issues without needing to take them to HR or to the manager or CCMA.
Thank you, Queenie, for that. But I just want to add one thing. You are talking about one component of diversity. We're talking about diversity as a big picture. We're talking about gender. You know, we're talking about you know the diversity aspect of gender. We're talking about BEE here. We're talking about different layers and different levels, the entire broader scope of an organization, not just relationship issues in regards to HR. We're talking about women leadership roles being equated to male leadership roles. We're talking about amendments being made in policies to make sure that women's roles don't get diminished because they have to go and have babies and now they're off the cards and they reach the glass ceiling. All of those little nitty-gritty big picture of diversity. So we can't measure it just on HR's issues being lessened or down. It's all of those elements.
It cuts across. It cuts across all the
layers.
The layers. You need to locate it. You need to locate it within the strategy, within the way you structure your business, within your processes, and within people intervention, and anything else. Actually, I've seen that the organizations that drive the engagement models, they're locating diversity within the passion pillar of their engagement model. That it goes along with the culture and progressive cultural way that the organization organizes itself. And I think it is, if you are looking for measurements in terms of metrics like quantitative, you may measure things, but you may still have gaps, because if we are compliant with all those visible diversity metrics, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are transformed. It doesn't necessarily mean that the way we lead people makes people feel appreciated, included, and they belong, and they are passionate and committed to the vision of the organization. Now, it's almost like in marketing, you drive marketing with the hope that somewhere it makes it easy for salespeople to sell. So again, it goes to what Abdul was saying. There has to be a belief that it adds value to a change of the culture and the brand and everything. And therefore, if people don't believe that we will keep on doing it, even if the metrics in terms of quantitative may not be talking numbers we like, but we believe that this is a journey, and we believe that it infuses into the culture, and the goodness in our culture benefits from diversity, it benefits from leadership, it benefits from talent management and everything. So I think, as we have said, let's remove labels. Let's believe that if the environment requires you to be progressive in terms of culture and the way you manage and lead people, do it. And let's help companies to start arguing from the point of view that when are you going to stop with this type? It's never going to stop. It is there with us. It's a perpetual thing. We can only keep on getting closer and closer, getting better.
Yes.
So I don't know whether we answer Abdul, and I think it's a very difficult question. We're trying our best to give him an answer.
You see, I'm looking at it from this angle. You remember, we are talking about leading diversity and managing diversity. I'm of the view leadership is about impact management.
Can you integrate it into your checking out so that we don't miss time? I don't want us to overstretch it, if you don't mind, because it's gone over time already. It's almost close to going over time.
Yeah, it's not good. I'm saying leadership is about impact management. If diversity is performing, it should translate in the bottom line.
Yes.
If we were to look at the bottom line, the question would be, what has been, if there is an increase or decrease? If you remember, when we talk about monitoring and evaluation, we monitor runs and cents. But when we evaluate what created the change in the bottom line. Invariably, if it was me, I would be saying, if there has been an improvement in the bottom line, what contribution has it been from diversity management? I would not even go to, because I would look at it from a perspective of evaluation, not necessarily monitoring. Because monitoring, in terms of monitoring, sets are set already. But in terms of evaluations, what has been the contribution of diversity, leading diversity, or managing diversity in the institution? If I cannot identify that, then I have a problem as a person who is leading.
But it could also be an issue of belief. It could be people who say it doesn't matter how hard you try to argue that the success is linked to diverse nature of leadership we have. If people choose not to buy into it, they're going to challenge you to come up with metrics that are quantitative, even though the impact is there. You can see in terms of the markets, if your market is diverse, let's take South Africa, for instance. Before 1994, companies wouldn't care. There was no need to hire black people to go and sell to black people in the townships. There was no interest. But post-94, the leadership of the country in various sectors started to change. But not only that, the markets changed. Now, the buying power lies within more and more black people. So it makes a business sense to have black people also in position of influence because the market demands it. And all of a sudden, then you start growing your market.
So, Sam, I want to challenge what we are saying now.
Yes.
And I want to go back to relationships. Because if we go with Abdul's conversation earlier between managing diversity and leading diversity, a lot of companies are compliant. They have the number of people in the right places. They have they've accessed the right markets because they are compliant. They have their BEE level is there. Yet the quality of experience of the employees is at its lowest. Because while collectively this organization is ticking all the boxes and they can show the bottom line to show what compliance has done for them, we're not talking diversity and making the circle bigger. I still want to go back to that. It is about relationships, because companies have been able to show how compliance has delivered and improved their bottom line without looking at what is the quality of experience of the employee
inside the organization.
Exactly. And if we're talking diversity and inclusion, because I'm hearing us emphasizing a bottom line impact from diversity, embracing diversity, not inclusion, because inclusion and as Ms. Point, belonging are the ultimate response,
So the whole presentation by Esme actually has answered this question.
For sure. So it's about relationships in the end.
Queenie, I just want to 1 minute, Sam. Queenie, I'm 150% behind you. I've seen organizations with the right scorecard in terms of BEE, gender, roles, and number. Relationship quality, inclusion, belonging, missing. Doesn't exist. It's not there. There are problems, there are issues, there are courageous conversations.
And I think a follow-up question for another LEKGOTLA in one day, when we talk about transformation and change management, we will then ask the question, but why?
Yes, I think that would be a nice follow-up. Yes, Sam, this diversity, we need to have another conversation. The more we talk about it, the more we're getting it out there.
But some of the things we want diversity to answer are lying in other areas of competency. As I said, that's in the issues of transformation and change management. Companies that do not believe in the strategies, direction of the leaders who don't believe in the strategic directions of their companies in terms of change and transformation.
Yes.
And they will just tick the boxes and say, you see, boss, because I've hired Sam as a salesperson, he managed to go and sell 5 cars to 5 black buyers in Soweto. So we are benefiting the bottom line. But but Sam is not happy. He's not feeling included. He's not empowered.
Exactly.
I think that is another
LEKGOTLA mirror for ticking the box, but Sam is not being utilized.
Yeah, it's not even being seen to be part of this organization. He's being excluded a number of times in a subtle way.
Exactly.
He's not empowered.
Yes, that's what's happening.
He's not remunerated and rewarded equally with like others.
Like the others. Ooh, thank you. Amen. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Last minute, we must make sure Abdul is there. He's
Abdul, are you happy? We will love you, Abdul. You are going to come back to a change management and transformation.
No. I've listened.
Okay, can you check out for us, Abdul?
I've listened. Yeah.
Can you check out for us? Because I'm really mindful of time because it's been a long day.
Yeah, we are.
That's true.
Yep.
Yes. Pardon?
Can you check out in those 5 steps that we have?
I think I'm.
Yeah, I think you are not hearing us. Your network is failing us. Okay, can we move on?
Can you hear me? Because we're frozen from my side.
Yeah.
If you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Remember, that's what I'm saying. For me.
Can you check out for us, Abdul, if you hear us? I think he's not hearing us. Michael, are you ready to check out? We'll give Abdul a chance after you. Yeah, I could see that we are losing him. His network is failing him. Michael?
Yes. In terms of the confirmation, I would say that this session confirmed quite a lot of things, you know, because we tend to, I would say we tend to kind of not differentiate two different aspects, like how Esme unpacked the issue around the values, because I think she mentioned something regarding that. A lot of organizations have their values that are written there, those good words, you know, honesty and all stuff, but they don't really live up to them, you know. It's just a matter of just decoration within their website. So I think that's what was confirmed to me based on how she was working in terms of them living to those values. And in terms of aha moment, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Mike. We can hear you, Mike. I think Michael is also losing. He's also having connection challenges.
I don't know what was going on. An aha moment. I think the aha moment was the critical issues that were highlighted by Abdul regarding the critical learning and the action learning. It was it confirmed those whole scenario regarding the theory of school and the work implementation. So it kind of matches the whole aspect into one, you know. And I think the following is the new insights. No, I've picked quite a lot of things that I will start implementing. Plus, I'm busy with my assignment, so I'll work on it and obviously increase because I was looking forward and also taking a lot of notes. And yeah, so I will work on it and try to inject some of the points through to my assignment. And taking home, of course, it's to share what Esme shared with us in terms of the how the cruise works and the lot of opportunities that are there, because we have quite a lot of it can be families or friends that are unemployed, even though they have the qualification. So those could be a career boundary. I think Esme mentioned something about creating an agency that assists them in finding jobs. So I think we'll wait for that agency, Esme, so that we can get the ball rolling, you know, and progress in terms of helping the president and anyone who's part of the measuring the employment in the country. The new behavior, of course, to be cautious about the diversity within. I think Prof mentioned something about diversity coming on his way while he was the facilitator of diversity, and it was still with him whereby he had to take some decisions that are based on him and also supporting the daughter. So I think, yeah, that's it on my side.
And Abdullah, thanks, Mike. Beautiful stuff. I'm glad we could help you with your assignment as well. That's great. Abdullah, are you able to check out for us? Yeah, no, his connection is really a challenge. Okay, let me check out. I have also my checkout here that I want to share. For me, the confirmation is that this is a work in progress. I think I'm really waking up to the realization that we will never arrive at a point where diversity is fully addressed. It is a continuous work. And it also confirms something. I got introduced to this Otto Scharmer model called it the Theory U, where they talk about the presencing, you know, that if you look at that, the U theory, that many of us are fixated in our old way of thinking, and sometimes before even people can finish telling the story, we already know what they are going to tell. So the theory is called theory you like you. And Otto Sharma is the senior lecturer at the MIT Sloan School of Management. It's a very famous theory that I recommend to anybody who wants to really practice presencing. And it really takes a number of stages where when you are in a download level, that is when people talk long before even they finish, you already know what they are going to tell you, and you stop them or you reject their proposition. And many of us, we do that. And they go down the curve, see yourself getting rid of your old way of thinking so that you open opportunities for you to learn. Sense yourself inside going through turbulence. When Abdul was presenting, I really quickly remembered the theory. I said, I'm actually going through that turbulences where I'm sensing something uncomfortable. And I'm going to try hang on there to get to the stage where you are right at the point where you are presencing, which is really presencing is the combination of sensing and being fully present. That you are fully with your heart, head, and will prepared to understand what it is that is happening to you. And I've worked through that today. It was the first time that actually I experienced this theory in me practically. I'm actually going to share with my colleague that this thing is true. Because now when you go on to the next leg of the U is when you start doing what you call crystallizing and having a vision of how you're going to better yourself, that you don't find yourself struggling with stuckness in your old ways, and then get to a point where you are performing. In other words, you are intentionally able to sit with something that you don't necessarily agree with until you find a way of agreeing with it, because it might be the opportunity for you to change who you are in terms of engaging. Thank you, Abdul, for giving me the opportunity to practice that theory. And the aha moment for me is the angle that Queen came from in terms of courageous conversations in the context of diversity and the COVID-19. For me, that is really an aha moment. I've never looked at it like that. We've always understood that our homes now have become the extensions of offices, but that this could be actually a diversity issue that could even trigger domestic violence, which might not necessarily be physical, but it might be you have planted a bomb in a family that used to have peace in the evening, and you don't even realize that you are creating problems by not negotiating your way with your colleagues and calling them at times when their husbands and wives are expecting them to be dishing out dinner and sitting with them around the table, talking about anything else but work. So that's my aha moment. The new insight is what Abdul has shared with us. I've always known that the LEKGOTLA is an action learning methodology, but he put a more adjective to it, a radical action learning. So that means you really radicalize it. And also when he said that some universities intentionally walk away from it because it's very intense. It needs resources, it needs competency, it needs expertise, and it needs retooling of the whole approach towards education. Thank you, Abdul, for sharing that. I'm going to Google radical action learning even more. And if you have more material, please share with us. I would like to bring it more into the LEKGOTLA. Take home, I mean, Esme, I listened, I interviewed Esme for 3 hours at COMETSA Radio Worldwide on her experience in the cruise liners. But today, I really, really took home a lot. One of those is that we could actually look at the cruise liner sector and industry as a place where we can encourage our young people to go and look for jobs, because by so doing, we'll be addressing 2 problems. One, we'll be addressing the issues of unemployment. 2, we'll be sending them out in the world to learn other cultures and really learn to appreciate their own country, but make South Africa proud. So I agree with Michael that if it's not Esme, somebody must be inspired by ESME to start the recruitment agency specifically to place our young people into cruise liners. And she said that it is like in the army. So these days, there's no force, there's no conscription campaigns. They don't have to go in the army, they go there by choice. But if we can encourage them to go and work in the cruise liners for 2-3 years, when they come back, they are totally different people. So let's get that going, Esme. And maybe let's send you back to go and coach in the cruise liners, encourage them to recruit young people. We need them to be exposed. And then, of course, the new behavior for me is that, like Prof has said, we need to reintegrate diversity management, inclusion, and belonging into our coaching and into our human capital interventions offerings. It is something that we cannot switch off yet. And also, let's stop telling companies that one day they will be done with it. They are not going to be done with it. They must just make sure that it moves from just management alone to management and leadership in line with our brother Abdul is recommending and suggesting. Those are my checking out. Abdul, I hope you are able to check out. We really want you to check out. Abdul? Okay, is not able to check out. Can we go again full round? Let's tell our viewers how they get a hold of you if they want to engage you further. You will get, these videos are available on the platforms. You will, on top of this, you'll get a podcast from each of your segments, and we will publish the podcast at COMETSA Radio Podcast, which is www.cometsaradiopodcast.com. And we will give you our copies. You can also put it on your websites and in some of your social media platforms. But thank you very much from my side. Let's quickly share with people, whether you give them your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, or your website address, or email addresses, whichever way works for you. Thank you.
I'll go first. You can find me on LinkedIn, Queen Ramotsewa, and the rest of our handles is Teto. www.teto, we have that website, and you will also find this book on our social media platforms, and the title is Leadership Anchored in Consciousness is a Big Deal, which is just a new release from me to you, proudly so. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. And of course, if they are struggling to spell Teto and find you, they can always contact us. We will connect them.
There we go. Our company is Teto Leadership and Coaching Academy. Teto Leadership and Coaching Academy. Thank you.
And Teto is TSHETO.
Yeah, definitely.
Diversity, Queen. Some people don't know how to spell
TSHE, T for Tom, S for Orange, like that.
Yeah, okay.
Teto Leadership and Coaching Academy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Some for me, it's email W and then Budibe, my surname wbudibe@mweb.co.za. I respond to emails sent to that address, and then we can take it from there.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Esme, you can just type in Google Esme Vidboy and everything comes up. So www.esmelifecoaching.com. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty much if you just put in Google Esme Vidboy, you will find a whole range of websites. And I also have a free gift on my website. It's called Unstoppable Confidence. Free download.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you very much, Esme. And then, of course, we are also a conduit into you if they're struggling. Abdul, can you hear us? It looks like he sees that we are talking, but he can't hear us. Is he frozen? Okay. All right. I think in terms of COMETSA, I mean, we are all over in terms of social media. Michael and I, we are there at COMETSA. You can get all of us at call center at cometa-goc.com. Otherwise, just go to COMETSA and then you get to our websites. And Michael is on Facebook, he's on LinkedIn, he's on Twitter. I'm also as well there. So we are all over. And we can't get Abdul to check out. If you want to get hold of Abdul, contact us, we will connect you with him. Thank you. Thank you very much, colleagues. We stretched it a little bit longer than we planned, but I really appreciate your time. Remember, this LEKGOTLA for each topic comes once a year, so I don't even know whether next year we'll be able to fit the diversity in, but we'll have other related LEKGOTLAs. But the next LEKGOTLA in October, which is happening on what date is it, Mike? We are looking at the governance, compliance, and ethics. And we have 4 subject matter experts to address that. We will send invitation and we will have the same approach. Thank you very much. Take care and be safe. Happy Heritage Weekend. Happy Heritage Month. Take care. Goodbye.